It was the 4th of July. My backyard smelled of smoked ribs, the grill sizzled, and kids laughed while fireworks cracked in the distance. But then, chaos. The HOA president, a woman everyone called Karen, stormed into my yard, waving papers, yelling that my barbecue was illegal. She called security, threatened to fine me thousands, and even demanded my guests leave immediately. The thing she didn't know, sitting right at my picnic table, eating ribs with sauce all over his fingers, was the mayor of the city himself. And when he stood up to face her, let's just say that Karen's fireworks were about to backfire. The morning of July 4th was perfect. The sky was clear blue, the air crisp, and the smell of barbecue had already begun wafting through the neighborhood. I had been planning this barbecue for months. It wasn't just any get-together. It was my annual 4th of July Freedom Feast. Every year, I'd invite friends, neighbors, colleagues, veterans, even strangers who didn't have family nearby. My backyard was huge, enough space for kids to run, bounce houses to inflate, tables to spread out food, and of course, my massive grill setup. But this year felt different. This year, there was tension in the air. Why? Because of the HOA. See, I bought this house 2 years ago, a beautiful corner lot property with a big yard by the lake. The HOA had been a thorn in my side ever since. Complaints about my American flag being too large. Letters saying my truck wasn't approved for driveway parking. Even warnings about excessive noise when all I did was mow the lawn. But nothing prepared me for what was coming this 4th of July. Because the HOA president, a middle-aged woman with a bob haircut, oversized sunglasses, and a permanent scowl, had made it her mission to ruin my celebration. Her name? Karen Whitmore. By noon, the smoker was already going. The brisket had been slow cooking since 5 a.m. The ribs were perfectly glazed, and the grill was hot with burgers and hot dogs ready to go. Neighbors I actually liked started arriving. Families brought side dishes, kids brought water balloons, and the laughter began. And then my special guest arrived, Mayor Richard Carmichael. Tall, distinguished, salt and pepper hair, and one of the most down-to-earth politicians I'd ever met. He'd been a family friend for years. I'd helped him with a veterans fundraiser once, and since then, he'd made it a point to show up to my barbecue whenever he could. When he walked in carrying a cooler full of his famous homemade lemonade, the crowd erupted in cheers. "Mayor's here!" someone shouted. And suddenly, the backyard felt like the safest, happiest place on earth. What could possibly go wrong? Around 2 p.m., I noticed her, Karen, standing across the street, arms folded, lips pursed like she'd sucked on a lemon. She was watching us, watching the cars parked along the street, watching kids laugh, watching smoke rise from the grill. I could feel the storm brewing. And sure enough, she crossed the street, stomped up my driveway, and entered my yard like she owned the place. "Excuse me," she shouted, waving a stack of papers in her hand. This is against HOA policy." The music stopped. Conversations went quiet. Everyone turned. She pointed at my grill. "You cannot host commercial-scale cooking in this subdivision. And look at these cars. Street parking is limited. And don't get me started on the excessive noise I see being unloaded." I tried to keep calm. "Karen, this is a private celebration. It's the 4th of July. Everyone is safe. Everyone is happy. You don't have to..." But she cut me off. "I don't care. You are violating multiple HOA ordinances. I am shutting this down right now." Gasps spread across the crowd. Then she snapped her fingers, and 2 men, wearing cheap polo shirts with HOA security printed on them, walked in. The 2 guards weren't professionals. They looked like bored teenagers on summer jobs, but they puffed their chests and walked up to my grill. "We're shutting this down, sir. Move aside." At this point, Mayor Carmichael slowly stood up. He wiped his hands on a napkin, cleared his throat, and walked forward, "Excuse me," he said in his deep, commanding voice. "Do you realize who you're talking to?" Karen rolled her eyes. "I don't care who he is. This is my HOA, my rules." The mayor raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, I'm the mayor of this city, and I don't recall authorizing your so-called rules to override state law or basic human decency on Independence Day." The crowd erupted in cheers. Karen froze, her face turning red. But she wasn't done yet. "Oh, so this is your backup plan? Bring in your little politician friend. I don't care. I'm calling the police." Sure enough, 15 minutes later, squad cars rolled up. Karen stood smugly at the end of my driveway, hands on hips, ready to see me dragged away in handcuffs. But when the officers walked into my backyard and saw the mayor standing there, eating ribs, they stopped dead in their tracks. Mr. Mayor, sir?" The mayor smiled. "Gentlemen, glad you're here. You're just in time for some barbecue." The officers looked at each other, confused. Karen exploded. "No! Arrest him! He's violating HOA rules! He's disturbing the peace! He's—" But before she could finish, one officer turned to her. "Ma'am, HOA rules are not criminal law, and unless you have evidence of a crime, there's nothing for us to enforce here." The crowd burst into applause. Karen shrieked, "You don't understand! I run this neighborhood! This whole event is illegal!" But the officers ignored her. Instead, one of them grabbed a plate and walked to the grill. "Sir, mind if I try some ribs?" The backyard roared with laughter. Karen, humiliated, tried one last desperate move. She pulled out her phone and started dialing furiously. "You'll regret this! I'll sue you! I'll sue the mayor! I'll sue the city itself!" But the mayor calmly stepped forward. "Ma'am, what you're doing is harassment, and if you continue, you may find yourself facing charges. My office will be in touch." Her face drained of color. She turned, stumbled, and stormed away as the entire backyard booed her out of sight. And as fireworks lit up the night sky an hour later, the mayor raised his glass of lemonade. To freedom, to neighbors who stick together. And with that, the party raged on, bigger, louder, and freer than ever. So tell me, what would you have done if an HOA president stormed into your 4th of July barbecue and tried to shut it down in front of everyone? Would you have kept calm like me, or lit fireworks in her yard just to make a point? Haha. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, if you loved this story, smash that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more insane HOA showdowns every week. Because trust me, these Karens never learn.